Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good day after the solar eclipse. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Today, Fourth will be joined by the Emergent Labs, the Shared Use Mobility Center, and the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce to discuss increasing community impact and meaningful engagement. Stuart, can you hear me? I did get a notification. Okay. If you're unable to hear me, please try refreshing your screen and that should do the job. My name is Symbia Yusuf Muller. I am the events manager at Fourth. And before we start our panel today, we have a few announcements and then I'll pass it along to our moderator, Erin Lusch, our program manager on the Access to Cars team at Fourth. Attendees, we ask that you submit your questions through the attendee chat. We will get through the questions during the Q&A portion of the webinar. Who are we? In case you are new to the Fourth team or what we do at Fourth. Fourth is a nonprofit organization. We envision a world where clean and equitable transportation system move everyone and everything. We are on a mission to electrify transportation by bringing people together in our focus areas, which are access to electric cars, access to charging, access to emerging modes, events and partnerships, and policy advocacy. If you would like to learn more about Fourth, the work we do, and more, you can find that information on our website at fourthmobility.org. And the work we do would not be possible without the support of our members and sponsors. We want to take this opportunity to thank you all for supporting the webinar program and the programs we do at Fourth. If you have any questions regarding membership support, please reach out to our membership and partnerships manager, Rachel Havikamp. We just dropped the information in the chat. And would you like to join the Fourth team? Are you in the business development role, or do you know someone that should be on the Fourth team? We are currently hiring for the business development manager. More information will be dropped in the link, and we will also drop more information in our webinar recap notes. And the round 2 of the charging and fueling infrastructure CFI grants will be announced in a few months. So wanted to shout out, this is a perfect opportunity for everyone involved in public EV infrastructure program to sign up for our Fourth's course on designing effective and equitable charging program. Attendees of this webinar will get a 50% discount if you scan the code and use the promo code EVEDU50. You get 50% off the EV charging infrastructure e-learning by Fourth. We have a lot of resources to support through the CFI grants. And in just a week, the Fourth team will be heading to Chicago to host our Design and Fund Equitable Electric Transportation workshop. If you're in the Chicago area or know someone in the Chicago area, please have them register because registration is free to nonprofits, community-based organizations, and government agencies. This is a great opportunity to gather resources, hear from folks that are doing the work on best practices, what you need to learn about funding opportunities and how to apply for funding opportunities and bring equitable programs to your communities. And with that, I'll pass it along to our very special guest, Ashley Duplanty, for a quick spiel about the Roadmap Conference coming up in September.
Thanks, Cynthia. Great to be here today. Well, the Roadmap Conference team has been very hard at work over the past several months, and we could not be more excited to be coming to Detroit this September. A couple of updates and reminders to share. Well, the first one is that our major announcement this past month is that we have announced the program sneak peek of the conference program. The topics of our 24 breakout sessions, which are centered on vehicles, charging, impact, and cutting edge, are now on our website. And if you click the link that we're going to drop into the chat, you can view them now. Some of the discussions that we're really looking forward to are fast charging standards, electrifying off-road vehicles, affordable EV financing, and federal charging investments. And I have to give a plug to stay tuned for another major announcement later this month, because we will be announcing the full program. Another update or another deadline to keep in mind is that our Mobility for All scholarship application is open through May 3rd. And the Mobility for All scholarship application is for folks working at community-based organizations who are working to electrify transportation equitably. And we are offering those individuals a complimentary ticket as well as a travel stipend. So please get your applications in by May 3rd. As many of you know, the Roadmap Conference is the premier electric transportation conference in the US. And what really sets it apart from other industry events is the diversity of industry stakeholder that it attracts. So from the major OEMs and charging firms, utilities of all shapes and sizes, government agencies, component supplier, community groups, professional contracting firms, engineering firms, and more. So all that to say, we make sure that there are ample networking opportunities available at the conference. And in closing, I'll share that we have both sponsorship opportunities and exhibit opportunities space still available. So if you're looking to raise your organization's profile at the conference, please contact us. Lastly, the early adopter rate ends on June 24th. So now is a perfect time to book your ticket before prices increase. And with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Cynthia, who's going to share a quick video for us today.
I've always called it the Super Bowl of electric transportation conferences.
When people talk about roadmap, they know that they're going to be highly visible subject matter experts attending.
As far as ROI, you can't pack more into a couple few days.
Fourth still brings together the people who are making things happen.
Thank you so much for that, Ashley. And now we will continue with our program as scheduled with our introduction of our panelists. Erin, please join me on stage.
Hi, thank you, Simbi. As Simbi noted, I'm Erin Lusch. I am a program manager here at Fourth on our Access to Cars team, where I focus primarily on electric vehicle car share. Currently, we're rolling out the affordable mobility platform, primarily at affordable housing sites across the United States. And I'd like to invite our panelists now to come on camera with me as well, so I can introduce them. We'll start with Brytanee Brown. Brytanee is the principal and founder at Emergent Labs, a justice-oriented design studio that uplifts the multi-layered Black, Indigenous, and people of color experience to navigate complex issues. Next, we have Sarah Huang. She's a program manager at the Shared Use Mobility Center. Sarah supports the Clean Mobility Options Program to provide clean transportation solutions to California's under-resourced communities. And then Dr. Cassandra Little is the CEO of the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce. Dr. Little has dedicated her career to empowering others and encouraging them to embrace their limitless possibilities, to identify their purpose, harness their passion, use their energy to persevere through barriers, and formulate a plan to act. To start us off today, we are going to do a quick icebreaker, and I'd like to invite all of our attendees to drop their info or their answer into the chat if they would like to participate, while our panelists do it live here on camera with us. So our icebreaker question today is, what does meaningful community engagement mean to you? And to start us off, I'm going to throw it over to Dr. Little.
Hi, welcome everyone, and thank you, Erin. For me, that's a loaded question, but I would start off by just saying that, first of all, it's about putting community at the center, and throughout that whole ecosystem. When we talk about ecosystems, we talk about different levels, and I say that community is is focused at each level of however you define your ecosystem.
Thanks, Dr. Little. Sarah?
Yeah, so I guess for me, I think community engagement is just really integral to kind of the relationship between community and whether it's the CBO agency or organizations that are working with the community. So I think just really making sure like that the relationship is solid and that it should be done in such a way that it's really just regularly checking in with the community and serving the relationship between those two.
Thanks, Sarah. Brytanee?
Yeah, I agree. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Erin. I agree with my fellow panelists, Sarah and Dr. Little. Relationship building and thinking about equity at the center as well, making sure that those who have had the least historically get the most. And so what does that look like from a community engagement perspective? And what does the relationship look like beyond the project, the planning process that is typically 6 months or a year? I think relationship building is key with community engagement and power distribution and thinking about power redistribution.
Thank you, Brytanee. And thank you to everybody dropping their comments in the chat as well. It's awesome to see. All right, I'm going to invite our speakers to go ahead and turn off their webcams as I introduce our topic today, and then I'll invite you back on as we do presentations. So today we are here to talk about one of my favorite topics and activities, and that is increasing community impact with meaningful engagement. As is probably true for many of you, many of FORCE programs include at least some aspect of community engagement, whether we are talking with partners about charging at multifamily housing or workplaces, or maybe with community about a community charging rebate, or maybe we're talking about cars, electric vehicles at a ride and drive event, or maybe a new launch of a car share service in a new community. Or maybe we are doing something that is really more focused and all about community engagement, like our recent work with the Washington State Department of Commerce, engaging communities across the state regarding their upcoming electric vehicle incentive program. So whether it's a minor or major piece of our work, we do a lot engaging with communities and partners and are really always learning and iterating on that process and looking for ideas and ways to improve. So today I feel so fortunate to be spending the hour with all of you and these three wonderful panelists that are proven in the space and here to share with us the importance of meaningful engagement, the lasting impact it can have on communities and projects, and some examples and best practices that we can all take part in and move forward in with our work. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'd like to invite Brytanee Brown to come back on camera with me for our first presentation.
Hey, I'm
Great.
here.
Hi, Brytanee. All right, I'm going to hand it over to you. Take us away.
Awesome. Thanks, Erin. Good morning, everyone. I'm calling from the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm based in Oakland, California. And once again, I'm the founder and principal of Emergent Labs. We're a design studio and strategy consultancy. We work at the intersection of overlapping issues affecting Black and Brown communities. And I like to say that we do partner with nonprofits and government and companies, and really who we partner with within those spaces are change agents. So folks like you all who are really interested in centering community, but don't necessarily might face roadblocks in doing that. And so I'm just going to get into my slide deck here. So these are some folks that are on my team. Andrew Sapon, who is our engagement designer and impact strategist and does a lot of our visual and digital storytelling aspects and holds that work. Catherine Stubbs, who recently joined our team and is the transportation equity strategist and is really thinking about how to partner with organizations and government sectors in advancing transportation equity. And then we also partner with a number of on-call strategists and technical experts who bring economic development expertise, transportation planning expertise, and community engagement expertise as well. Okay. And a little bit more about my firm and what we do. We really believe that centering those experiences, those multi-layered Black, Indigenous, people of color experiences is really at the heart of true community innovation, radical reimagination, and justice. I wonder if there's anything else I want to say about that. I think I'll let the projects speak for themselves. But I also want to say that I'm really honored to be on this panel because I am here with Sarah Huang and Dr. Little, and these are my colleagues and community stakeholders through the Clean Mobility Options work. Emergent Labs has had the opportunity and the honor of supporting the Clean Mobility Options program with some of the equity and capacity building work there. So excited to be here with them today. So one project that I really like to lift up, and this project is something that we worked on when I initially launched Emergent Labs, and it was the EV car sharing and mobility hubs in affordable housing pilot project. And this project was really about bringing EV car sharing, EV charging infrastructure, and other travel options to affordable housing communities in 3 Bay Area cities, Oakland, Richmond, and San Jose. And I'll just take a step back and say that a lot of what we do is thinking about culturally affirming research and data collection, stakeholder and community engagement. And then we also do some technical assistance in program policy and project implementation. And I would say that our work looked like intervention because this project had already started. And so we were working with Transform, which was the nonprofit project partner responsible for bringing the EV car sharing and charging infrastructure to these sites. And so this group, the organization, the nonprofit, was really thinking about how to increase community impact. One thing that happens when we do these projects is that we face roadblocks. And one of the roadblocks that they faced was bringing the infrastructure to the affordable housing sites. There were a lot of technical components associated with the project. And so we were brought on to sort of think about, well, what does it look like to bring those resources to the community in the interim while we figure out those technical components associated with bringing this infrastructure to a community. And so we drink a little water. So where we landed with this client, with this partner, was a virtual mobility hub. And I will say, when it comes to community impact and thinking about where to start, especially when it comes to transportation, we have to think about mobility over modality. And so this project partner, Transform, was very clear in the beginning that it wasn't just about EV car sharing, that it was about mobility and increasing mobility for the communities and residents in Richmond, Oakland, and San Jose. And so from the onset, they had already built in transit credits and Lyft credits into their sort of mobility hub. And so all of those resources outside of the infrastructure were already readily available. And so we conceptualized a virtual mobility hub with the client. And so I just took a couple of screenshots from the pilot website. And one thing I want to highlight here is that in the sign up aspect or sign up image that you see, is that we did not, there's no hierarchy of mode choice. And so we have transit, we have car sharing, we have ride sharing, we have bike and scooter share. And when somebody who's a resident comes onto this website, they can sort of choose which one speaks to them, which one they're most interested in. And so this sort of, we use this to one, make sure that we're delivering those resources to the community, right, in the interim of experiencing these technical challenges. So definitely thinking about community impact. And we thought about this from leveraging community engagement. And so how can we sort of think about what is going to speak to the community as the project continues, right? As we continue to implement the project, what sort of education do we need to provide? Do we need to tell people what is share, what is ride share, and really break that language down? And so that's sort of the crux of the project, thinking about what it means to partner with a change agent, someone who wanted to bring these resources to the community, while there were some technical challenges associated with bringing EV car sharing to those residents. I have a little bit of time left, so I'm going to go to this slide. Another project that we worked on was the Martin Luther King Shoreline Access Study, and this one was all about identifying clean air mobility options that could remedy the barriers for folks in Deep East Oakland in accessing the waterfront. And so our project partner and our client here was East Oakland Collective. And we supported them in developing some culturally affirming data tools. So we did a community stakeholder questionnaire. We did some pop-ups with unhoused residents that lived near the shoreline. We did a couple of bicycle rides. EOC really conceptualized those aspects of engagement, and then we supported them in developing those tools. And one thing that I like to highlight on the right is this. You see this map of the neighborhood, and the shoreline is in green, and the red are all of the sort of non-permeable land uses that folks experience when trying to access the waterfront. So the airport, industrial sites, freeways, the BART, Amtrak. And so what does it look like for communities to be able to access the shoreline? And one, it is PED infrastructure, but it's also what EOC conceptualized was a zero emission shuttle concept. And so I love to lift this project up because this is indicative of a community planning process that was driven by residents, right? 1 minute left. And so I just leave you with this. I ask, in your project, somebody is unable to see the presentation. What is the next most elegant step you can take to ensure meaningful community engagement within your program or project? And I will leave it there so that my next panelist can come on. And I will say that we have dropped a link in the chat. And you all, I'm offering up to 5 folks, the first 5 folks who reach out to me, a 15-minute call. I know that this is a national call, so I'm really curious to see what folks are working on nationally. Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you so much, Brytanee. That was great. Next up, we'd like to invite Sarah Huang to come back on. Hey, Sarah, and I'll just let you take it away.
Great, thank you. Well, hi, everyone. As Erin said, my name is Sarah Huang, and I'm a program manager at Shared Use Mobility Center. And my role mostly includes supporting the Clean Mobility Options program, which provides program implementation technical support. And I lead the peer learning network called the Clean Mobility Equity Alliance Network. So that's where clean mobility project implementers can share challenges, successes, resources, and insights, where people and organizations who are interested in bringing clean mobility solutions to their community can find resources to help them achieve that goal, and where we provide training and meetings for people to build capacity in the clean mobility space and advance clean mobility policy and programmatic solutions. So I just wanted to provide you all with a brief overview of CMO, and then we'll dive into some of the resources that we have that are focused on community engagement and walk through some of the examples from previous CMO projects. So the Clean Mobility Options Program is a publicly funded California program designed to fill transportation gaps in under-resourced communities in California. We provide funding, resources, and support to local communities so that they can lead in the development of unique mobility solutions that are catered to what their community needs and are cleaner, more affordable, and accessible than the existing transportation options that are available to them. The CMO program is funded by the California Air Resources Board and the California Energy Commission and is administered by CalSTART, Shared Use Mobility Center, and CivicWell. So the goals of CMO are kind of fourfold. The first one is really to increase the zero emission mobility options for all Californians, especially including disadvantaged communities, low income communities, and tribes. To fund community-driven mobility solutions by really centering the residents' primary needs, to improve access to clean mobility options that are safe, reliable, convenient, and affordable to communities throughout California, and to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and pollutants. And there are really two types of CMO funding. So the first one is the Community Transportation Needs Assessment Voucher, which provides financial resources and project support so people can really analyze their transportation system and identify what specific transportation needs they have. And the second one is the Mobility Project Voucher, which really gives communities the funding and project support so they can launch a shared mobility project that's aimed at addressing their transportation challenges. So for the CMO program, we have provided $55 million in funding to about 73 communities across California. And CMO is unique in that from the start of the application process throughout project launch and beyond, each project is assigned a specific technical assistance team that addresses their challenges, provide guidance, and offers ongoing support. And through the CMO program, we do kind of fund the studying and the launch of mobility services, such as those listed here. So on-demand shuttle and vans, ride-on-demand services, traditional fixed route transit services, bike sharing, scooter sharing, carpooling, van pooling, and electric vehicle car sharing. So now going into kind of some of the resources we do have kind of 3 different ones that are related to community engagement. And some of this information is a little bit more geared towards CMO awardees, but the overarching content is applicable to all kind of project types. So the first one is the Needs Assessment Community Engagement Guide. And this is the guide that kind of goes into how you can really incorporate community engagement throughout your needs assessment process. The second one is a resource that's kind of linked to the first guide and is an appendix of the types of community engagement activities and approaches. So this resource provides guidance and kind of shares a little bit more on the limitations of the different types of community engagement activities, factors you should consider if you want to implement that specific type of strategy, and provides examples from previous CMO needs assessment projects and really illustrates their results and shows pictures from their activities. And then the last one we have is the Mobility Project Engage Your Community Guide, which provides a step-by-step process on developing a community engagement plan for your, an upcoming or existing clean mobility project. So the guide includes kind of worksheets and checklists to really help simplify and clarify the process and make it easier for teams to integrate community engagement activities throughout planning and operation. All right. So I think before I jump into the examples, I did want to go into, I think, some of the kind of guiding principles that are important when you are conducting community engagement. So these are kind of things that you should, maybe be asking yourself if you are centering these values throughout your process, or if it's after a specific community engagement activity, ways that you can really evaluate if you are meeting your goals for community engagement. So the first one is clarity. So this means kind of providing clear communication about the purpose of the engagement and the transportation needs assessment and your community's role in that mobility planning process. So it just means kind of being clear in what you're asking from the community members and how they're really benefiting from potential new transportation services. The second is transparency. So this is pretty similar, I think, to clarity, but focusing on kind of being transparent about what your agenda is, being clear about the process of how long things will take, letting the community know like when issues do arise, and if there are delays in certain timelines, letting them be aware of that. And then if a decision is made that goes against the consensus of the community, really being transparent and clear about how that decision is made. This could also look like, I think, providing notice about the community engagement activity in advance through multiple communication channels, making sure notes are taken, during the meeting and provided to folks afterwards, sharing materials and resources before a community engagement activity, afterwards, and making sure that there is follow-up that's planned after these activities so people can know, what's happening. Accessibility is also another important one. So this is really making sure your event and your activities that you plan are accessible to community members in all sorts of ways. So this can include providing accessible times and locations for the events, having multiple events and meetings, making sure the location is close to a transit stop or that transportation is provided, making sure a meeting location is a neutral space, not something that people, maybe have controversy with or don't really like, providing translation interpretations if that's available, making sure the information is presented in such a way that folks who are older or younger are still able to understand the material, and making sure that the location itself is physically accessible to those who maybe aren't able to walk or it's harder for them to walk. So it's important. This second one, fourth one is representative. So just making sure your activities reach a broad and representative subset of the whole community, and that could include working with CBOs or community groups to do kind of expanded outreach and engagement. And then the last one that I added was just reciprocity. So oftentimes I think engagement processes can feel somewhat extractive and exploitative to community members just because of how much is asked from them. So I think just making sure that there is reciprocity and that you are kind of, trying to provide compensation or following up with community members on the outcomes of the activities, or making sure there's a way for them to interact with the results, or they can see that the vision or ideas that are discussed actually end up happening in their community. And then I just put as a reminder, just kind of making sure that you're meeting to the community where they're at, both in their understanding of kind of the concepts and terms introduced, but also physically going to where they are. So wherever they're already gathering, farmers markets, churches, things like that. So this one, I'm probably just not going to go in too much, but I think these are just different things to consider, factors to consider as you're thinking about kind of those values and principles that I mentioned earlier on, as you're thinking about the location, the day and time, weather, food, childcare, translation, interpretation services, incentives, compensation, demonstrations, that you are, I think, looking at it through those lens of those kind of principles that I've had introduced. And I do want to just make sure that we have some time to go over some of the examples here. So here I think are 4 examples from the CMO program from the needs assessments that happened back in 2021. So these are 4 of the projects that happened in California. The first one is Fresno Facts. So they had conducted a needs assessment in a small community at the Three Palms mobile home community, which is surrounded by highways and is very isolated from the rest of the community. So they were able to kind of bring in a food truck. They sent mailers to the communities that lived there and had an event so people can kind of learn more about what was happening and engage with them in person. The second picture you see is from Urban Collaborative Project. They are a CBO that's based in San Diego. They conducted a needs assessment in the Cholas View and Ocean View community, and they engaged with several community members and volunteers who did a walk audit in their community. They kind of did it in small groups and really kind of wrote down their observations about kind of the streets and the sidewalk and took that information and integrated it into their needs assessment process. Regeneration is a CBO that's based in the Salinas Valley area, and they conducted a needs assessment in Watsonville and really, I think, focused largely on kind of doing a lot of tabling events, outdoor, door-to-door canvassing, kind of going to people and really doing the survey there and providing, I think, help as people are going through the survey questions, providing the survey in multiple languages, and really providing, I think, a lot of one-on-one support. And then lastly, we have Bike Ventura County here, and they conducted their needs assessment in Oxnard, where they used a variety of strategies, provided, I think, incentives like bike lights at pop-up events, making sure that there was translation, interpretation in different languages. And they also ended up hosting a demonstration event where people were able to kind of physically see the vehicles and see what would potentially be coming into their community. And I think that's it for me. But yeah, I think if anyone has additional questions or wants to learn more about CMO or CMEA, feel free to reach out to me here in my email. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. As we are having Dr. Little join us on camera now, I'd like to give a little reminder to all of our attendees that if you do have any questions, please drop them in the attendee chat, and we will try to cover that in our Q&A session after Dr. Little's presentation. Go ahead, Dr. Little. Thank you.
Dr. Little, you're muted.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Sarah, for your presentation. It leads right into what we will be talking about in regards to what we do here at Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce. Like I said before, I'm the CEO of not just the Chamber of Commerce, but our Chamber Foundation. Many people ask why and how we are in this space. And the Chamber mission is definitely aligned with our transportation project. Our mission is to engage, educate, and empower Black and BIPOC community members, entrepreneurs, and small businesses. In 2019, the Chamber applied and was awarded a Transformative Climate Communities grant that is head through Strategic Growth Council, where we branded and we're the lead for the Clean Share Mobility Network that everyone prior were discussing. Along with that, we also were awarded the Clean Mobility Option. We're an awardee for that for our e-bike project. We are currently the only Black-run organization that has a multimodal, what we call transportation EV hub here. And that's what we branded as BizWorks Innovation and Mobility Hub. For me, it's when we talk community, I don't, we have a separate presentation, but anytime I talk about our project, community is all inclusive in everything that we do. We don't see our community members as consumers of this project. They are this project. They are part of this. They are partners. A friend of mine, he coined a phrase: the closest to the problem and closest are also closest to the solution, but are often furthest from the resources. And that is Glenn Martin. And everything that I do in regards to this work, that statement centers me. So it always starts with community. I'm sorry. Currently, like I said, when I say multimodal, we are busy over here, and we're excited about the work that we're doing here. Our project, is designed to bring environmentally friendly transportation solutions, not just to our underserved community, which is Southwest and West Fresno, but also throughout Fresno and Clovis. We use public transportation to maximize mobility in the Southwest and downtown Fresno's communities. We currently have 200 e-bikes throughout the community, which we call Biz Bikes, that we're currently partnered with Drop Mobility. We have EV Works, where we are working on we have half our cars out. We have 42 cars out in the community for car share. We own and operate that project on our own right now, and we're excited about that. We also have a van pool and van hailing project. And one of the things I'm most excited about is our EV accelerator, because that leads its way into the educating and empowering in regards to our community, where it's not just that we put in this infrastructure in your community, into the community for you to become a consumer. The accelerator is to put people in position to where they know exactly why this infrastructure is going in the community. They know exactly how, if they wanted to start a business within this arena, they can do that, or if they want jobs in this arena. We know when we're talking about all the billions and trillions of dollars that are going to be coming into this arena, we're straight up and we're having real conversation with our community members about how, when we're talking about changing your life and economic mobility, this is going to be one of the once in a lifetime opportunities to do that. And so we're using our EV accelerators to get that information out and put people in the place where they want to be when those dollars are deployed. So when we talk about community involvement on our project, I'm kind of going to, this slide will give you a reference, but I'm just going to have a conversation. For me, I believe that to be impactful, we have to make sure that any projects that we're going to do or any work we're doing in the community, it has to be sustainable. And to make it sustainable, any grant that we write, our community or any CBOs or any community members are written in the grant. It is not a one-time thing. I'm not going to give you $5,000 for you to bring a group for us to come talk to. We are all partners in this project. And does that bring about some different kind of challenges? Yes, but this has been like one of the most rewarding operations that I have ran within the chamber because community is running this project. Like I said before, our area currently is in the Southwest and downtown Fresno. The other thing that we know is historically community of color and poor communities have been, in regards to transportation, has been cut off strategically from being able to get, always say from A to B. To get to A to B, we typically got to go to A, B, C, D, E, F, which take hours for people to get from home to either work, home to either medical, home to good food. And so Fresno, the area that we are working in, has been disenfranchised historically through redlining, and have had poor, which has led to poor air quality, and just high transportation needs. So this just gives a timeline of our project from the beginning. From the beginning, like Sarah had said before, there has, even before this, to be honest, we just started implementation of our project probably about a year and a half ago. And COVID did stop a little bit of that, but a lot of it was because of the time that it took for community engagement to kind of get this, to look at exactly what community wanted, where they needed the infrastructure, and to kind of just get ourselves aligned with the project also. So this gives you the timeline of our project from beginning to launch. Along with the vehicles, we also install the EV chargers within our community of service. And through the EV, the other great thing is through our accelerator, community members can also learn how to become certified in operation and maintenance of those charging infrastructure. Because someone who has been impacted by having projects come into our community growing up and then leave and the infrastructure left there once the project is over, I thought it was important for our communities to be able to continue to make sure that everything that is put into the communities can be sustained. Like I said, our engagement is ongoing, and our engagement looks like right now, one of our big areas are in the housing authorities. We have 5 sites, so we're partners with them. Many of the community members know who we are, because we're there. We have engagement activities here at our hub because we want them to know that this is a safe place for them to walk in if they have a question. And we will engage throughout in all the colleges. Any opportunity in the community for us to get out there and talk about what we're doing and why we're doing it and why it's important for the community members to know what's going on and what's happening in their community. We do it. This is just some information on how our services are being used right now. Just today, actually, after this, I got to go get 2 more cars. We currently have like 26 cars. I thought we were going to have a slow rollout, but our community members are begging us for more access to vehicles, and so the writing and the usage is high. And this is just the data area of where our hubs are and where we want to place more hubs for our bikes as well as our vehicles. To finish up here, our focus now is, like I said before, is to focus on continue educating our community and empowering the community to get engaged in this arena, knowing that this is going to be a wonderful opportunity for people to transform their lives economically, as well as understand what kind of infrastructure is going into their communities. If anyone would like any more additional information about what we're doing here at the Hub, or would like to come visit, here's my information. And we love for people to visit, and we love to discuss and share what we've learned, and how and talk about the importance of engaging your community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Little. I'd like to invite all of our panelists to come back on now for our Q&A section. And go ahead and unmute as well if you haven't already. So I think right now we'll start with a question that Brytanee mentioned kind of lightly in her presentation. We mentioned kind of breaking the language down. I'd like to bring it back to that. Why is that important in how we frame the outreach and language to be more accessible in engaging communities? Brytanee,
I can go first. I know for us, and I'll even start for myself. With getting in this arena, we use a lot of acronyms. We use like language that sounds foreign, and so even with our engagement, that's why I call it real talk. We just talk real. We just demystify some of the language especially within transportation or within this arena, so it's not scary for people to engage and become involved and think that it's not a space that they belong in.
Yeah, I agree with everything that has been said. I think, and I saw that Joy Massey is in is in this webinar right now. And at the end of my slide presentation, I have the contact information for the clients. And so Joy Massey was the project manager for the EV car sharing mobility pilot project. And we worked together to make sure that whatever language was being presented to the community wasn't directly copied and pasted from the grant. And so I think it's very important for us to do a lot of reframing. What is absolutely necessary for the community to know. I think we do a lot of explaining what the grant language says and the purpose and GHG. And I think that's important. I think community I think it's okay to raise awareness and have a level of education, because community, I think, are capable of grasping that. And what is absolutely necessary for someone to be able to use car sharing and bike sharing. So sort of having that balance of information, and also what is absolutely necessary. So I just wanted to say that and out in there.
Yeah, I think I just want to echo what you both are saying, in that I think within the transportation space, there's a lot of jargon. And I think when you get too much into this space, it becomes really easy just to kind of talking in that language. But I think when you're talking to the community, it's really trying to, I think, help them understand, well, how does this actually impact their life? And if you're using that language, like, they're not able to see that. And that's why it's really important to try to break it down to something that, they can understand, or where they can see, like, this is what, it means physically having a car there that they can use, or it means, having an option of transit. And that's what these, jargony words mean.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to jump to a question now from Heather. She's asking, robust public engagement can be very expensive, staff time, space reservation fees, etc. How have the panelists overcome the costs?
I know for me, coming into this, looking at initially on our grant that the community engagement was a one time, like a beginning, and then maybe in the middle and the end part of it. And so I had the flexibility of using some dollars from the chamber, and to be able to make sure that we can integrate that. And then as I started writing the grants and understanding it, I wrote the community engagement piece within the grants. That so it's not just like I have a community engagement because of the CMO. I have someone that's what they do. And so, but that's like understanding that that's an important piece. It's not a one time. You can't just contract with someone. That's very challenging because commitment level is different, and you want someone they're going to be there throughout that whole process. And the person that was hired or is the person who's within that community. So even when this is all over, they are still there to sustain that whole process. So
I'll just add that for me, community engagement is an investment. When we're talking about bringing infrastructure to community, if it isn't being utilized because people don't understand how to use it or it's not relevant to them, then we have wasted resources and dollars. And so it is an investment. And I think it's also important. One strategy or one thing that I would implore folks to do is to build that budget out to see what it actually would cost and then work backwards. What are some of the ways in which we can think about how organizations can donate in-kind services, free space rentals? So I think that it is a matter of starting and then have a starting point and then working backwards from there. But it is absolutely an investment, something that we cannot skimp out on. So, yeah.
And it is expensive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed. And I think I just want to add on, like, I think you could also, I think, try to piggyback off like other events where it doesn't have to be you, I guess, planning an event, but you going to existing events where you're tabling and connecting to community members that way. I think that's one way where you're not having to like host the event and rent a place and things like that.
Partnership works a lot. Partnering with agencies within that are already in the community helps tremendously. There's a lot of small CBOs who are within the communities. We just started working with one for our band pool. It's like, hey, you run this part of it, and then you can share some of those funds. So sharing dollars is important. I know that's hard for people, but that really helps a lot with managing your bandwidth. So.
Thanks, you guys. We have time for just a couple more questions, I think. So I'm going to go back to something that Dr. Little touched on in her presentation. And that is, given the historical funding opportunities that we're seeing right now, the dollars that are coming in, why is it important within the context of electric vehicles and charging infrastructure to center community needs right now? Sarah, would you like to go first?
Yeah, well, I think this part is really important just because if we are adding additional, infrastructure chargers to communities, we really want to make sure that the communities know that that's for them, that they're able to use it. And I think oftentimes when you see, chargers being added, certain communities may not think that that's something that they're able to use or it's for other folks to kind of use and drive through their community. So I think really, incorporating community engagement throughout the process so they can try the chargers or see how it integrates into their life is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Little, would you like to add anything?
For sure. And I think, I look at all of what Sarah said is essential, but also I look at our community as not just as consumers too, but as people who can really benefit for some of these changes that are going on. The chamber, we're in the business of helping people start businesses, sustain business, and grow business. This is an awesome opportunity for people to get into, transportation infrastructure and mobility and open their own business, to learn how to work on electric cars. There's no opportunity like now if you want to look at economic mobility for not just yourself as an individual, but community. So that's why I think it's important to talk about dollars. We don't talk about money first. We like to talk about projects. I talk about dollars. I'm like, look, if you want to transform your life, this is the way to do it. And so those are important things to put out there to our communities also.
Yeah, a lot has been said already that I agree with and align with. One thing that comes to mind is just about the legacy of transportation and how historically it has perpetuated racism and creating obstructions for communities. And so I think we have an opportunity, we're at a critical touch point where we can actually sort of change the tide. And I think we're going to be looking back 10, 20, 30 years from now and really assessing the choices and decisions that we made. I think it is time, we have to be bold. And it's absolutely, this is critical infrastructure that government is investing in. And we've seen what it looked like historically for communities to be locked out and be locked in by the transportation decisions that government was making. And so I think it's critical because, we're at a critical touch point. So I'll stop there.
Thank you. All right, we have one more question. Time for one more question. We're gonna just ask, as we all move forward in this work and continue on our projects, where is a good place or a guiding principle to get us started and move forward with? Dr. Little, would you like to go first?
In regards to community or?
Yeah, in regards to community engagement.
I say I think it's important to when you're looking at developing your grants, write community engagement in there just as much as you would for personnel. I think it's important to add that piece. And don't treat it as a separate part of your ecosystem. It needs to be integrated within the ecosystem of all these projects that are coming up. And so that's the main thing I would say.
Thank you. Sarah?
Yeah, I think a big one is really just accessibility, like making sure the events and the activities you do are accessible and thinking about all the different ways that you can make it accessible and really evaluating, I think, what you're doing before and afterwards, through that lens.
Mm-hmm.
Brytanee?
Yeah, I agree with the accessibility, integration. One tool that I have used is, and I've seen other folks use, is this idea of a vision statement. So starting with, what is it that we want to see in the future? I think sometimes it's hard for communities to envision themselves in the future, and we have to separate from a feasibility study. If time and resources were unlimited, what would our vision be? And so I think in terms of, I think guiding principles are key. I think centering, thinking about who we want to center in the process. And I think working with the community to have a vision is really important as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all so much today. Simbi is going to come back on and we are all going to go off camera while Simbi closes us out for the webinar today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erin. Thank you so much, Dr. Little, Brytanee, and Sarah for joining us today. As we wrap up and close out, again, I want to plug our April 17th workshop. I know there was a question around how expensive public engagement can be when you talk about staff time, space reservation fees, but that is also going to be a topic that we will cover at that workshop. And it all starts with how do you build your budget and how do you equitably build your budget to make sure that these costs are integrated into the budget from the start. And I hope you all can join us for our next conversation. We will continue our webinars on May 14th with Building the Gap between rural EV charging programs. We will have a robust conversation and highlight strategies and programs that are addressing rural EV challenges. We hope to see you then. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. And we hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday, a great rest of your week. We hope to see you at Roadmap. We hope to see you on Tuesday, May 14th. And if you're in the Chicago area, we hope to see you at the workshop. Have a great day, all. Thank you so much.